Let's go back for a second. Remember that spark? That one video, that idea, that single moment that just hit you and made you say, yes, okay, this is it. That was the moment you decided to get serious about this whole thing. And that feeling, it was real. It was powerful. But here's the hard truth, and we have to be honest about this. As a long-term fuel source, it's completely and utterly useless. Why? Because motivation, well, it's just a feeling. And what do we know about feelings, right? They're like the weather. They just roll in, totally uninvited, and then they leave just as fast. You can't control them, you can't predict them, and you definitely, for sure, cannot build a career on them. Because at the end of the day, the market, your goal, your project, it doesn't care one bit about your emotional forecast for the day. Nope, it only cares about one thing: what you do. All right, section 1, the feeling that fades. Let's talk about that initial fire. See, the problem isn't that it burns out. That's going to happen. The real problem is thinking it was ever supposed to last in the first place. This isn't a personal failure on your part. It's a design flaw in the whole approach. So, section 2, inspiration's predictable decay. Let's actually dig into the science of that design flaw. Because, understanding why that initial drive disappears is the absolute key to building something that can survive without it. Researchers actually have a name for this. They call it the intention-action gap. And we all know exactly what this is, don't we? It's that massive canyon between the excitement of, I'm gonna do this, and the quiet, boring reality of doing it, day in and day out, especially when things get tough. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Motivation literally has a half-life, just like some radioactive element. It peaks at 100% the moment you commit, but just look at how fast it plummets. A month in, you're down to less than half. By month 3, you are running on fumes, if you're lucky. And look, I have to say this again because it is maybe the most important thing you'll hear today. If your journey has stalled out before, it is not because you have a weak character. It's because you built your entire operation on a fuel source that was absolutely guaranteed to run out. It was a design failure. So here's the whole point in a nutshell. Motivation, it's the match. It's fantastic for starting a fire, right? But it's not the wood. Discipline, your system, your structure, that's the wood. That's the stuff that keeps the fire burning long after that initial spark is just a memory. Okay, section 3, the emperor's quiet duty. So how do we build a system that actually relies on wood, not matches? Well, let's look at someone from history who totally mastered this. A guy who really understood that you don't need to feel like it to do the work. This quote comes from the Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius, writing in his own private journal. He's literally talking to himself about not wanting to get out of his warm bed on a cold morning. And this is his pep talk. It's not inspiring, it's not a big speech, it's just a simple, quiet statement of fact. The Stoic philosophers had a word for this, katheon. It basically means appropriate action. It's just doing what's correct for your role, as a trader, as a writer, as a parent, completely separate from how you happen to feel about it in that moment. And here's exactly how we can apply it today. For a trader or really any professional, the katheken is the process. It's the prep work, the journaling, the weekly review. These tasks, they don't require a lightning bolt of motivation. They just need the quiet decision that, yep, this is what a professional does. And here is the absolute key. You have to build for reality. And the reality of any ambitious goal is that most days are a grind. They just are. So your system has to be designed for those days, not for the rare, exciting ones. So let's do it. Section 4, a system without feeling. How do we actually build this thing? Let's get super practical and design an architecture for our work that makes motivation totally, completely irrelevant. A system that just runs, no matter the weather. Okay, here it is, broken down into 3 parts. Step 1, a fixed, non-negotiable schedule. Step 2, a commitment to the smallest viable action on your absolute worst days. And 3, a focus on tracking your consistency, your streak, not your short-term results. Get a calendar and put a big X on every day you show up. The goal is simple. Don't break the chain. Now let's just zoom in on that second step for a second, because it is an absolute game changer. On those 0 motivation days, don't try to force a full session. Just do the smallest possible thing. Write 1 sentence, look at 1 chart, do 1 push-up. That's it. That's the whole job for that day. And you might be thinking, why? Well, it's because that single tiny action proves something profound. It proves your practice is real. It proves it exists completely independently of your feelings. It proves your system works, even when you don't feel like you do.
And all of this, it really brings us to one final defining question. It's a choice that separates everyone who starts from the very few who actually finish.
So I want you to ask yourself this, honestly. Are you still here because you're motivated? Or are you here because you made a decision and you're simply choosing to honor it no matter what the weather is today? Really know the difference. Because the version of you that shows up based on a decision, well, that's the one that finishes.